This might be controversial, but I think that the Apple Vision Pro is going to fail because Apple wanted it to. Everyone is talking about why is there no Netflix, YouTube or Spotify on the Vision Pro? Why would anyone spend $3,500 on this? What can I do with just 2 hours of battery life? But as you'll see in this video, these are all the wrong questions. These are just the curtain, and the real secret lies behind if you pull those curtains back. Behind all of the hype, the $3,500 price tag, the 4K screens, the Steve Jobs like one more thing presentation with all the flair, and all these people walking around with a near guarantee of never finding love in their life since no one can physically interact with them anymore, there's actual pure genius that Apple is hiding. And that master plan is made up of 3 things. And let's start with the craziest one, the $3,500 price tag, which is the first piece of this mysterious puzzle. Okay, so do you realize that the Apple Vision Pro is basically maxed out on everything? I mean, it's already called the Pro. They didn't even bother with the regular version first. Overcompensate much? Most phones nowadays have 2 to 3 cameras, but the Vision Pro has 12 cameras. Instead of the 2 high definition screens, one for each eye, they not only decided to make them 4K, but also added 2 more screens on the front for people to see your eyes. Of course, keeping costs low is Apple's top priority. 1 chip? Obviously not. How is that visionary or pro? They added a second one. 1 microphone. No, they needed 6. Who cares about the fact that even phones don't have more than 2? Let's put 6 on the Vision Pro. Now, typically other VR headsets are made out of plastic to keep both the weight and the cost low. But of course, no, Apple is Apple. They make everything out of a single block of aluminum. But you know what the cherry on the cake is for me? It seems like they thought this was finally too much tech and decided to balance it out by confusing the shit out of everyone and putting one actual physical wire coming out of the back of your head. Hey Apple, the 2000s called. They want their wired headphones look back. All this and more results in the insane $3,500 price tag. I mean, which consumer has that kind of money? You can buy 3 Macs, 6 iPhones or 12 AirPods for that much. Heck, you can even buy a second-hand car for that much. You know what? Since crypto crashed, I'm sure you can even buy a Bitcoin for that much. Wait, what? Bitcoin is still selling for $31,000? Who's buying this stuff? All kidding aside, as you can see, this defies normal product design and development thinking, where companies try to make things both high-tech but also affordable. Why would Apple want to charge more than double the price of its competitors for a product that does the same thing? That's crazy, right? Well, as it turns out, not quite. They've done it before, only to create the most successful phone in history. I'm sorry, what? The best-selling phone is a Nokia? Okay, if it's before 2010, it doesn't count. Let's not let the facts get in the way of a good story. Okay, so it's happened before with the most successful smartphone in history, if history started in 2010. The iPhone. So let's rewind back. The year was 2010, Steve Jobs was still alive, and no one could use the horrible resistive touchscreens that only touchscreen phones like the Nokia E62 and the Palm Trio had. The BlackBerry was actually the cool phone to have. BBM was the most popular messaging app, and to be able to use it, people had to keep creepily asking other people for their impossible to remember BBM pin. But I digress. It was also the year when Steve Jobs launched the iPhone in a speech that's forever in the history books, making an entire generation of young people, including me, want to dream to become CEOs, only to realize that in real life there's no big launch or slides with 1 or 2 words. You only give presentations with complicated charts and numbers that everyone has seen before and they've made you edit several times. He launched the iPhone at $500, which was priced at more than double the competing smartphones at the time, and still people lined up for hours to get it. So is this it? Have we solved the mystery? Is the Vision Pro launched like the iPhone launch? Not really. To understand this, we need to go back further in time to 1983 when Apple launched its most revolutionary product that was never a commercial success. The Apple Lisa, the first computer to use an actual graphical user interface, which meant that instead of command prompt with a black screen and white text, you could now move around a mouse pointer on the computer screen, just like you can do right now to subscribe to my channel. Do you know what the price of the Apple Lisa was in 1983? $10,000. Ouch! No prizes for guessing that it failed miserably, but it led to being the foundation for the success that Apple saw with the Mac that all of you know today. And now, Apple seems to be doing this again, except this time they've planned for it to fail. They've not only planned only 150,000 units of the Vision Pro in 2024, if you think I'm exaggerating, consider this. We know that Apple has only planned 150,000 units of sales for the Vision Pro in 2024. That's less than 1% of their revenue. They probably make more money selling their $20 polishing cloth. But basically, they don't care about how much this sells. This release isn't about making money with a mainstream product. This is about laying the foundation for the future, about creating a new category of product that takes something used only by scientists and a few tech enthusiasts and geeks like me and slowly making it into a product like the iPhone or the iPad or the Mac that's used by people everywhere across the globe. Now, the second reason for the launch of the Vision Pro is for Apple to be able to share their vision of augmented reality with the world. See what I did there? Share their vision. Virtual reality headsets have been coming at us thick and fast for a while now. Facebook, in fact, bet their entire company on this one feature of virtual reality. They went as far as changing the name of their company to Meta and launched several VR headsets like the Meta Quest 1, 2, 3 and most recently the Pro. And that's going not that great. Their entire strategy is based on it being VR. But this is where Apple differs. It's been very clear that their vision for the Vision Pro is that it's not a VR headset. The vision for the Vision Pro. I've been dying to use that line. They make it clear that it's augmented reality and they insist that we should all call it spatial computing. Though technically it is VR because you're seeing video on a screen and not through a transparent glass with some video elements on top. But forget the technicalities. Augmented reality can easily be explained as a more consumer-friendly and natural way to merge tech with your eyes. Isolating people from the real world and immersing them into a virtual world might be fine to watch a movie once a week or play a game from time to time, but it's a much harder sell to the everyday user. I mean, just look at this. Would you drive in this guy's car if you knew he couldn't see the road? Now, we actually got a great glimpse of good augmented reality back in 2010 through one of my favorite products of the last decade, the Google Glass, which was actually super promising and probably way ahead of its time if our people were used to having so much wearable technology on their bodies. No one wanted to be that one creepy person with a camera on their eyes. In fact, there were even reports of people getting beaten up whilst wearing Google Glass because others thought that they were being filmed. Okay, so that was 2010 and Google never made a second edition. After that, for a few years, augmented reality became this kind of weird feature on smartphones that no one really knew what to do with. So people did weird stuff with it, like looking for Pokemon on their sidewalks. Not very useful. Sometimes I wish that Google had made another edition of their glass. They just gave up after the first one, which is so fundamentally different from Apple's strategy. In fact, just watch the Google Moonshot CEO talk about glass right here.
We had a vision of how AR would work into people's lives, professional lives into their personal lives. The part that we got wrong was we pretended we were done when we weren't done. We started kidding ourselves and kidding the rest of the world that it was a product when it was not yet a product. And that then set expectations really high that we couldn't meet.
It makes it clear that they should have stuck with it. Now, Apple's vision in line with this is to eventually achieve full augmented reality. And to do that, it basically requires a few secret ingredients, of which it's only got one at the moment. And it's the first one to achieve this in the industry, which is a true spatial operating system that can overlay on the real world. Problem with Google Glass was that it wasn't very useful. It didn't really tell you a lot of information and it didn't really harness its true potential. It was just, as YouTuber Tom Scott called it, a new way to hurt yourself. But Apple has actually built a spatial operating system that works. It doesn't need controllers and is instead controlled in the most natural way possible with your eyes. MKBHD famously called it the closest thing he had experienced in his life to magic. That's a lot coming from him, by the way. It's also familiar to most users, which has been a secret sauce that Apple has used to make many of its products widely successful. It makes the look and feel of the UI and the operating system across its devices so similar and familiar that when users try out a new product category that they make, they don't have the same learning curve they feel like they've always been using. Just like an iPhone user trying an iPad for the first time, they feel as if they already know how to use it. Except with this horrible Apple Watch icon interface that makes no sense. No one can really know which app is which. So the first thing that I do every time I get a new Apple Watch is change this to the list view apps. Sheesh. Now, the other secret ingredient that Apple needs to make this a success is a non-intrusive way to make this wearable feel natural. Your face and your eyes are the most personal and the most important part of your social interactions. So it matters less when you're holding a device or having something in your bag like a phone or an iPad. But as you get into things that you actually wear on your body, it starts to feel more and more intrusive. To show you what I mean, let me ask you a question. Would you be okay with putting a chip in your brain? The thought of surgery putting you off? Okay. What if you could swallow it instead? Still too intrusive? But the watch on your wrist is okay? It wasn't so a few years ago. It took a few generations of the Apple Watch to get people used to wearing a screen that buzzes on their wrist. And as for being intrusive into your privacy, yeah, you've already kind of given that up. Just look around at the number of cameras and microphones in your home between your computer, your phone, your smartphone, your doorbell, and who knows what else. All your ads are personalized based on your previous web history, leaks of people's photos from the cloud, passwords, voice recordings, private videos, private text messages are all too common. So maybe, just maybe, your life isn't as private as you think. But I digress. Back to Apple. The learning is they know how to play the patience game to get you used to wearing something that you never have. So if these are the short-term problems that Apple is trying to solve with the Vision Pro, what's the long-term vision for it? Another vision pun, make me stop. If you want to know what I think Apple's long-term vision is for the Apple Vision Pro, it's going to be on my next video. If you want me to make one, of course, and the only way I'll know is if you comment below and subscribe to my channel. Till then, there's so many more cool stories about Apple on my channel. Go check it out and see you soon.